Il y a Myriam. Il y a Myriam, il y a Mimi. So do we have everyone? Yes. Okay. So hello everyone, I'm Emir. I'm a member of the sales team in AIESEC Lausanne. So I'd like to welcome you to the Global Entrepreneurship Week. This roundtable is brought to you by AIESEC Lausanne, which is a student association that is promoting diversity, sustainability and peace since the end of World War II. So the aim of this roundtable will be to discuss innovation at the service of humanity. Therefore, we have 3 speakers on the floor. So this roundtable will be 1 hour long. It will be composed of 5 questions, which means that we have approximately 12 minutes per question, so 4 minutes per speaker. Therefore, we'll try to be careful about the speaking time for each participant, and we'll keep in mind that we'll try to have enough time for everyone to speak. But that doesn't mean that we will interrupt you by any means, so feel free to express yourself and your ideas. So we start by a very basic question for the speakers, and it is so, tell us guys, how are you, and can you tell us about yourself, your career, and your firm, please. So we'll start with ils entendent pas.
Il y a le micro coupé, je l'entends pas.
Mais moi, j'entends pas de là. So
Vas-y, essaie.
So, can you hear me? So I can't hear them actually. So
We can't hear them and they can't hear us. Because you are muted, actually.
They're fixing it and it's coming. They're just working on it.
I can hear Mimi.
Ah oui, non, les intervenants, apparemment, ils n'entendent pas.
Ah,
Nous,
c'est bon.
So, am I heard right now by everyone or no? Still no? Okay.
Voilà.
We good? So, do I start again or? So, before we start, can I have a word from the speaker so that I make sure that everybody is heard? Ms. Gabrielle.
Oui, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so
Hey.
hello. So, did you hear me earlier, actually? Did you hear what I say? So, okay, I'll start again. So, hello everyone, I'm Emir. I'm a member of the AIESEC sales team. Welcome to the Global Entrepreneurship Week. This roundtable is brought to you by AIESEC Lausanne, which is an association that stands for diversity, sustainability, and peace since the end of World War II. The aim of this roundtable will be to discuss innovation at the service of humanity. And therefore, we have 3 speakers on the floor, Ms. Gabrielle, Mr. Olivier, and Ms. Natasha. So this roundtable will be 1 hour long. It will be composed of 5 questions, which means that we have approximately 12 minutes per question, so 4 minutes per speaker. Therefore, we have to be a little careful with the time we have, especially that we had a little technical issue right now. So bear in mind that we have to respect this time, and just keep in mind that we also won't interrupt you, so feel free to express your ideas. Therefore, we start with the first question, which is, that is very basic. So tell me, the speakers, how are you guys? Tell us about yourself, your firm, and your career. So we start with anyone who wants to start. So, Ms. Gabrielle?
Sure, I can get started. So my name is Gabrielle Lotz. I'm the founder of the Green Condom Club, which is a company selling vegan condoms without toxic chemicals. We're the only one in Europe being completely transparent with the ingredients that we use, because you might have noticed that your face cream literally lists all the ingredients that are in it on the packaging. Unfortunately for the condoms, that's not the case. And as a woman, I was extremely shocked that I knew what was in my face cream, but not what goes inside. So I came up with an alternative so we could kind of go over that. So that's part of the business. I also have a brand of cloth diapers for babies, and recently launched a repository of international days off. So that's more of a service-based business. Basically, it came up because I was looking for the international days related to sexuality for our blog and couldn't find a proper list. So I got upset, made a list, shared it online, and the list made a lot of views, like I think 200,000. So that spawned a little new project out of it. Yeah, I mean, I can go on, but...
So thank you, Ms. Gabrielle. So then we have Mr. Olivier Ferrari, Director General of Coninco. So tell us more, Mr.
Great pleasure to be with you, and hello everyone. So I have a specific career. When I was 20 years old, the CEO of Swiss Bank asked me to spend 1 year in the Swiss German part to learn about social security. And then I came back in October 1983 at the age of 21, and I became responsible for an asset management department for pension funds in the Swiss bank. It was incredible to be head of a department in the bank at the age of 21. And in 1990, I was obliged to put borrowing investment in the portfolio of my clients. Therefore, I refused to go ahead with the bank, and I decided to left it and to create my own company, Coninco, and to advise the pension funds how it happens in the bank. I was back, no, I'm in front of them, so you can imagine I don't became friends of bank on this time. And then in 2003, I organized a huge conference, and the biggest ever was organized in Switzerland related to what for the future. We are running against the wall with the economy. We were in February 2003. If we go ahead with the economy, we will kill the environment. And in 2007, I launched a foundation, One Nature Foundation. Then I developed in 2008 funds related to sustainable investment. 2010, I launched a cooperative. You can see that on onecreation.org. A cooperative, we integrate all the parties who have individual pension funds, AGO, family office, company, and municipalities who join this cooperative to grow up and to support the economy, the real economy, and to support the development of business with a great impact on the environment. And then 2011 until today, we develop different funds under the name One Nature, One Sustainable Fund. So One Nature Foundation, One Creation, One Sustainable Fund. The one is everything. We are just one, no region behind that, nothing like that. Just one we are. How can we respect that and go ahead for the future? So it's I'm experiencing an exceptionally positive professional time, and I'm happy to be with you.
So thank you, Monsieur Olivier. And then we have Ms. Natasha Bastia, co-founder of Daughters of Witches. So tell us more, Natasha.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I'll keep this one short. I'm hoping we can spend more time on saving the earth. I have a business. I'm the co-founder of the online startup as of Witches. We sell women and non-binary owned sustainable brands. We focus only on small brands. We ship and sell worldwide, and we're based in Poland.
So, thank you, Natasha. So, as you may have seen, we have really interesting profiles right now. We're going to dig into the subject without further ado. So, the first question is how important is sustainability and transparency to you, and how does it impact your business? So we'll start with whoever wants to start. So Gabrielle, Natasha, Monsieur Olivier.
Ladies first.
I can start, it's fine.
So we'll start with Miss Gabrielle.
Natasha.
Natasha, go ahead.
Natasha, let's go.
Okay, so 4 minutes on the clock. So I wanted to start replying to this question by just
tu regardais pas du tout en fait. Ok, pas grave.
Non, parce qu'il y a un meeting qu'on doit.
Yeah.
So
Xavier, you're not mute. Oh yeah. I just wanted to separate transparency and sustainability before replying, because I think you need to be transparent to show that you're sustainable in this day and age. But you can easily be transparent without being sustainable, and I think H&M is a good example. They rank very well on transparency rankings, but they're not sustainable. So I want to focus on the sustainability part because both concepts need a lot of unpacking, and we don't have time for both. So I'll focus on sustainability here. So sustainability was always part of what we did. It was never a question. We just did it. As a small business, I want to point out that it's not easy. I think maybe Gabrielle can talk about it also a bit later, because it kind of puts more obstacles in your way than anything else. Prices are expensive, processes are complicated, and margins are low because you want to remain accessible, right? Because our clientele is obviously millennials and Gen Z, and they broke. So it's quite a struggle. And I also wanted to point out that the way it impacts our business too is because we live in a capitalist society. If you're a sustainable business on average, you will have lower profits, lower margins, and companies tend to be deemed successful or receive support from investors of the state once they have profits or high margins. And when you're a sustainable business, you just don't have this because you put the earth before the profit. And so resources are hard to come by. So I think the way it impacts our business is, well, we're trying to save the earth, but business-wise, under a capitalist system, it is a struggle. That's what I have to say about this for now.
So thank you, Natasha. Then the floor is open for the other speakers. So Ms. Gabrielle or Mr. Olivier.
We can't hear Emily. We're not hearing you.
You're not hearing me? Like still not hearing me? So there is a technical issue.
It's fine now. You can go ahead.
So you can hear me now? So everyone? Okay. So thank you, Natasha, for your participation. Now the floor is open for the two other participants. So Ms. Gabrielle or Mr. Olivier.
I'm happy to bounce on what Natasha said. So for us, sustainability and transparency is really at the heart of the mission of the Green Condom Club, because like I was mentioning before, in the condom industry, you have no transparency around the composition of the products, like none whatsoever. What's mandatory is to say it's made out of latex, if that's the case. For the rest, it's polyurethane, but that's it. They don't talk about any of the additives, any of the emulsifiers or anything. So the transparency was really the core motivation to start the business. And then with regards to sustainability, it's always been a very close topic of mine, and I could not imagine having a business that does not go towards that direction to try to make the world a better place. That's why, for example, our condoms are vegan, so they don't use any animal ingredients. People say, oh, but are they animal ingredients in condoms? Yes, they are. It's mainly casein, which is the milk protein used to make the latex thinner and more flexible. So we have a different process that allows us to be vegan. But beyond that, there are actually a lot more that can be done to make sure that the product is fully sustainable. It can go through the sourcing of the different ingredients, the packaging, the transport of the goods. And there, I would join back on what really Natasha pointed out, is because no matter how many cool ideas you have about how the product should be or how the world should function, if the supply chain that you're looking at or that you have to work with isn't there yet, well, you're going to have either huge expenses to try to switch it, and more often than not, they will just say, oh, but like, I don't know, the other day someone told me, oh, the minimum order quantity for what you want is 100 tons. And I'm like, sounds great, but no can do. I mean, that's too much. So either it's too you still have the option it's too expensive, or either the supply chains just tell you no because you're too small. So they won't even consider making the switch. So it's really an intense work to try to push forward your vision, but manage the different constraints that are thrown at you. And with regards to the resources available, well, let me tell you, when you have a business related to sex, Swiss investors are extremely shy, especially if it's woman-led. So already a lot of less access to capital. And in our case, it's challenging because people always expect the business to have everything sourced in the country where it's from, and the fact that we source from abroad is also an obstacle. So yeah, it's a very big balancing act to try to pull everything together. And I think the only people who really realize are the ones who have tried to have done it. Because yeah, sometimes we get comments from customers who are like, oh, but how come the packaging of the condoms is in plastic? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we could do it in paper, but do you want to go through the health challenges of having that? Because then, I mean, the object can be damaged and it won't last the 5 years that it's mandatory for the packaging to remain intact. So I mean, there is a very strong or large gap between what the public think should be happening with regards to sustainability and where we are now with regards to either technological advances, access to funds, or basically the supply chains that we're reaching. So yeah, a lot of work is needed.
So thank you, Ms. Gabrielle. Now we move with Mr. Olivier. What's your point of view on sustainability and transparency, and how does it impact your business?
Thank you, Gabrielle. You draw the complexity of your world today, and just to explain you, sustainability is a huge part. But when we are speaking about transparency, what did you know? What kind of information did you receive? What the newspaper, television, radio, or social media give you? I just show you a sample. I share with you my screen, you know, and which one is it? This one. So are you seeing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have
I just give you. I was speaking about a lot of people are running along the street to say we have to go out of fossil fuel. You know, this is the main war that we have today at the COP26 in Glasgow. It happens now. About what are we speaking? So it doesn't go down. That's normal. So why? Yes. What is oil? We extract in 2019. Look at it. 5,500 billion liters of oil for 1 year. It's 30 times the volume of the Aswan dams, one of the larger dams in the world. Just to understand that. What is that? The coal mine. We say we have to go out coal. We extract 1,133 billions kilo of coal a year. If I say this 1,400 times the Great Pyramid of Cheops, and the global natural gas we need for energy, look at it, it's incredible. It's 4 million billions liter a year that we use. Going out the fossil oils, the transparency is to say to the people, we can't do it more the day, today, tomorrow, or the day after. And we have to move to something different. And we put on the atmosphere 23,000 billions of kilo dioxide carbon. So we build a great Swiss enterprise who can extract CO2, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, but they can do just 4,000 a year. This is the point related to the transparency I will introduce here, you know, and we have to pay attention, as you say, Gabriel, when you have the problem to find the thing to have in Switzerland or everything else, and also the same for Natasha, that when we are speaking out bio, it costs a little bit, margin are reduced. That's a fact. That's a fact where we are today, where we have to move. But we have to move to different things. That was for this part of this question. And how it impacts my business. So I share again just the screen, just to show you quickly. We are speaking, sorry. It's not a great screen, so sorry. I stopped. Yeah. Écran partagé. Yes, this one. Yes, sorry. We are speaking in the finance and everywhere about ESG. You know, we are speaking about engagement. We are speaking about engagement. ESG is the main word for 2 years. We will have a question after that. We have the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. It's an agenda of the UNO that we have to realize until 2030. But we have a main problem we have all to solve, is the impact on the planetary boundaries. We are speaking about climate change today, but we have acidification of the ocean, destruction of the ozone part, and we have the problem of azote cycle, phosphorus cycle, clean water, and the affectation of soils. Everything else is impacting negatively today, and for us, why it impacts our business, we have decided to explain, to go through that, to link finance to the real economy, and to help company will have a positive impact on the environment. We have to choose, and we have to choose a positive impact on the environment. Sorry, Gabriel, we can't invest directly in your company, but we can speak about that after. So we have to finish here. We have built the world against the environment during 2,040 years. It's a fact. Now we have to renovate it, to rebuild, and to go ahead to build. We have 3 times more capacity opportunities, but we have to move finance on the real economy, not on cryptocurrency or something else. Just a kind of.
Thank you, Mr. Olivier. So, Ms. Gabrielle, you have been mentioned many times in Mr. Olivier's speech. So, do you want to add something to this, or you're okay?
I was just curious if Olivier could maybe re-explain what his business does, because I might have missed it. Like, concretely, what...
You're right.
What do you do exactly? Just
Sorry.
so I can reply appropriately.
I have an investment company. On one side, we are looking investor to give us money, and the other side to put this money on the real economy, to create a link to the listed company and to engage a relation to go ahead to extend their capacity to be sustainable tomorrow. We invest on private equity, startups, scale-up company who will have a positive impact on the environment, and to invest on infrastructure with positive impact on the environment. That's why I spoke about planetary boundaries and the transparency where we are, where we have to move, and we can do it quickly tomorrow, but the day after we can engage it.
So
Thank you for this additional context.
So thank you, Mr. Olivier, for these informations, and we'd like to thank you also for the slides and the numbers. They really show us how huge the problem is and how much our generation will have to work in order to fix these things. So we spoke about sustainability, but how do you make sustainability as one of your assets? So we'll start with Miss Natasha.
Sure. Yeah, I think the first asset is trying to survive a climate apocalypse. I think that'd be great. Keeping fingers crossed here. But in terms of a business asset, I think, to be completely frank, what we're trying to do here is figure out whether there's a future where it's possible to continue shopping fun things such as clothes, jewelry, makeup, and things like that without destroying the earth in the process. And if small sustainable businesses figure out how to do that, then it's quite a big asset, you know. And I don't think we've found the answer yet. I think lots of small sustainable businesses are trying really hard, but it's just really difficult. Another asset, I'd say, and I'm speaking here of a small sustainable business community, is that when you're part of this community, we are all struggling, but very supportive of one another, and we discuss a lot about innovative ways to try to kind of upend the current economic system. And I think that that's quite also a big asset, to see this community thriving and just working really hard in the shadows, you know, to find new business models. So yeah, I think these are the main assets I consider. But probably Gabriel also has a few words to share on this.
So thank you, Natasha. I'd like to remind the speakers that the floor is open to debate. You don't need us to discuss between yourselves. So then we have Mr. Olivier or Ms. Gabrielle who wants to take the floor.
I take it. Gabriel, you agree? Yeah. You can be gentleman, but sometimes. So I share again the screen with you just to show you the asset that we have is an asset for every one of you when you are thinking on sustainability business. I will speak about the circular economy. Earth is a finite stock. We know that. We knew that for a long time, but now we realize it, you know. And the circular economy in each on your business could be condom, could be, Natasha, what did you do? I go on your web, you know. How is our consumption? Did we can share the what you do? Did we can reuse? Did we can repair? Did we can remanufacture, refurbish it, you know? And we have to pay attention to the raw material that we are using, you know, the design and production that we integrate. How could we consider that in the future when the product arrives at the end of the life, we can reuse it or all the purpose I show you there. Because this stock is at the end, we have kind of stock, we destroy it, fossil oil, for example, and we have stock that we can remove every year, and we have to integrate that. So this is why sustainability is the major asset that we have, and this is why we are looking companies, startups, and others who are implementing the approach of eco-circularity. And for your information, we have in Europe, we have a taxonomy, is the engagement to develop the sustainable economy, and 82% of the budget since the next year will be invested on circular economy. If in your business you can integrate that, that's very important. You will become over the other who don't integrate it.
So thank you, Mr. Olivier, for the insights you furnished about this topic. Ms. Gabrielle, your opinion is very rated about this question. So can you tell us more?
But first, I'll just take the opportunity to react on the circular economy topic, because I think, as great as the idea is, for example, we've had people ask us about the circular economy for condoms. And I know it's an issue even for contraception at large. So for us, in our business line, that's absolutely not possible, because you can't really reuse, repair, or recycle condoms. They're by design one-time use product, and that's the same for almost all the other contraceptives. I mean, think of the pill. You take it, it has an action on you, and then it leaves your body. You can't really go back to the lake, re-extract all the estrogens that were put in women's body and like remanufacture that into pills. So so that's the first one to keep in mind. But yeah, of course, circular economy is key, but unfortunately, it can't always be applied everywhere. With regards to the question, the sustainability as one of our assets, well, I mean, personally, I don't really look at it as one of our assets because it's really something that permeates the way we do business in general. It's not like a separate entity. It really invades everything. It invades the product. It invades the partnerships that we choose. It invades the way we treat data. It invades the social projects that we're involved in. So yeah, calling it an asset doesn't do it justice. It's more like a way of life, maybe. Oh, that sounds probably a little bit cheesy, but that's the best way I can come up with at the moment.
So thank you, Ms. Gabrielle. So now we move on to the next question. So
Excuse me.
Okay,
excuse
okay.
me. It's just possible to react to the proposal of
Of
Gabrielle
course.
about circular economy.
Of course.
You're right and wrong, if I can say that.
Ooh.
Where you're wrong, I will say not throwing the condom into the nature and to put it where we can incinerate them and produce power, it's kind of circular economy, you know? And you're absolutely right, but because the people are thinking, if I can do something else, igual or something different with that, it's a waste. No, today, waste, we transform it on energy, and then we are a kind of circular economy.
Agreed, and I think that's valid for countries with proper waste treatment plants available. Unfortunately, I don't think we can count the majority of the world in that category. So agreed, but that's a very first world way of looking at it.
So thank you, Ms. Gabrielle and Mr. Olivier. Now we move on to the next question. So nowadays, we always hear the term like green company. So we'd like to ask you, is there any curriculum that a company can follow to be certified as a green company? So we'll start with Natasha.
Sure. So I think there's again a lot to unpack here. I wanted to start with the green certification. I think there are curriculums in the sense that you can pick a label that you like and then go on their website and just try to follow a procedure to just get the label. I think that there are quite a few out there. There are also some industry leading like labels that you just can follow and stuff like that. The European Union is, I don't know how it is in Switzerland, but the European Union is working on an EU-wide legal framework to define exactly what is a green business. It's called a taxonomy. That is coming soon. However, this is currently being designed only for big companies, not for small ones. This will come later. So we will be able to soon have an official legal definition of what a green certified company is. I also wanted to talk about certificates because I don't think we should rely on them too much. Certificates have biases because they're made by people and they reflect the biases of people who make them. Most certificates that we use for sustainability and transparency are made by the global north for the global north. So we always need to keep that in mind. Not all the people that are involved in producing a product are involved in making those certificates. So most people from the global south are absolutely, completely not invited to create the certificates. So you cannot just rely on them. And I think this is where you need to put in the research if you as a company want one, or if you as a consumer, you're just looking at certificates and you just want to know which one to follow. You cannot just blindly follow a certificate. And I think you need to educate yourself, mainly by listening to marginalized voices. And I think, for example, a good platform for this is the Slow Factory. It's a great platform for that. And one last thing I wanted to address here is that I think we should have different standards for what we consider to be a green company depending on the size of the company. I think big businesses should be expected to kind of put all their resources into this, particularly the big ones that have been shamelessly polluting the earth for decades now. However, I think for small businesses, both me and Gabrielle, we've been addressing this a lot. We just don't have the resources to do the ideal business model would like to. I think we all would love to do some crazy things, but we just can't. And therefore, I think we should be a bit more understanding when it comes to small businesses. For example, maybe some of them use waste, others create super long-lasting products. Others use no animal products in their condoms. It's like there's just so many little ways small businesses can do it, and we need to be a bit more understanding for small businesses that they cannot do big things. And I also wanted to say that there's no support again for small businesses that are trying to be sustainable. And a good example for that is, let's say, when the EU framework will come out that will define what a sustainable and green business is, who will help small businesses to understand those laws and to get up to speed with those laws, because this requires a lot of knowledge, resources, time, and money that small businesses don't have. So there's also an important discussion to be had here, like what is a green company when it's large, and what is a green company when it's small. Yeah, that is all I had to say.
So thank you, Natasha. I guess your point of view joins Gabrielle's point of view. So, Ms. Gabrielle, can we have a word about this?
Sure. So I would, in terms of certificate, I would differentiate the certificate at the company level. So for that, you have B Corp, for example, you have ISO 26000. So those are kind of organizational certificates. But then you have all the certificates that are linked to the material that you buy and to the products that you put together. So it's different categories. And I mean, in a perfect world, I would love that a lot more emphasis would be put on the raw material and the supply chains to provide sustainable goods, and for them to have the sustainability certificates, because then it would trickle down the entire, like it would trickle down to all the end actors. Because right now it's still really difficult to source the materials that you want, because many actors at the global production level are not up to speed with those standards, and also with the fact that many of them are abroad or outside of the EU. And then how are they brought into the how are they brought in them? I can't speak. We want them in the conversation. So those are really, for me, critical aspects. And I'll rejoin what Natasha says with resources, because we've been looking at B Corp. B Corp looks great. It makes complete sense. But then you look at the question and you look at the amount of work that needs to be done to pass the certificate. And you almost need like a full-time employee just to do that. And okay, so you have your full-time employee doing that, but then that full-time employee is not doing anything else. And unfortunately, B Corp certification as itself is not revenue generating. It might help you land some deals, but then by what margin? So when you're small, it's a resource allocation that more often than not you cannot make. So yeah, huge challenges with that, but yeah, hopefully it's moving forward and it will move fast enough to avoid a global catastrophe, although I become less and less optimistic by the day.
We all hope for that. So then we move on to Mr. Olivier. So,
yeah, interesting.
So is there any curriculum that a company can follow to be certified a green company, Mr. Olivier?
In our business, we're a signatory of the PRI. It's an international movement, and we have different certification. We have one, the B Corp. The B Corp is one, is very interesting. I will just share for every one of you. We have done the B Corp. It took time, but in fact, it's very interesting. Just show you here. When you do the B Corp certification, you have to have minimum 80 points to be quoted as B Corp company. B Corp means benefit corporation. And we say we don't create a company to make money. We create a company for the benefit of everyone. And if you do it right, you will make the money. So, but you have kind of our Conico. The maximum point is 200. We have evaluation for governance, and then you can see the figures under, and then the workers, relation with workers, and you have the point under, and environment. You have the environment, and what it represents for us, it represents a guideline. It's not being B Corp to be B Corp, but it's a guideline that we have to follow. And year after year, we have a committee dedicated, because we are 16 people, Gabriel. I'm not alone, but we were less than that when we have done it. But it gives a guideline. It's something was launched 12 years ago in the United States, and the movement gave us a line. Because if I following Natasha, we don't have a definition today what is sustainability, what is a company who is sustainable. And we will arrive to greenwashing, because in finance, I can say 3 years ago, the people said, as long as we have trees, you have to up the guys because they are crazy with sustainable finance. After 3 years, after Greta, after COVID, 100% of the finance company are ESG, are sustainable. How to be sustainable in finance? When you propose an investment to your client, you put out the company who put a maximum of fossil oil and CO2 in the atmosphere, and you are sustainable. So we have one company, one of our funds, we put it out is Air Liquide. 40% of the CO2 of the portfolio is Air Liquide. If I close Air Liquide, you will see how many companies will stop tomorrow to work. And that's the problem, but I will come after to a global view of that. So B Corp is one way. If you can't, you have the Swiss triple impact project for the who are in Switzerland, and from outside you can do. It's free. It gives you a line that you can implement and to slowly think how to increase your engagement, not only on the environment, but with the people. If we have the people in your company who share your view, it means also that you increase your capacity tomorrow to have a leverage on impacting positively.
So thank you, Mr. Olivier. So now let's imagine that all the students watching us right now are trying to build a company based on sustainability. So what piece of advice would you give them, knowing that you're professionals in this field? So it would be very helpful for these students to have your piece of advice. So what would you say? We'll start with Miss Gabrielle.
I would say make sure you have enough money on the side to be able to pay rent, pay your insurance, and food for at least 2 years, because it's unlikely that you'll be generating enough to pay all your suppliers, all your potential employees, and yourself before that. Or maybe you have a great idea and then you raise shit ton of money, but then you're gonna lose shit ton of equity. So brace yourself. Make sure you're surrounded by helpful people, either your family and your friends. Take really good care of your mental health, because this is gonna be gruesome. Although extremely exciting, but also really, really hard. Get all the help you need, and good luck.
So it's not really encouraging when you hear this, but isn't there like a sweet spot between sustainability and profit so that you can build your company without losing your mind?
Maybe. I don't know. I have yet to meet entrepreneurs who fit the description you've just made.
So thank you, Miss Gabrielle. We move on with Miss Natasha.
I think Gabrielle made a great point that I would just like to second. I wanted, there's a money part that Gabrielle covered. So I just wanted to help a bit with the sustainability path. I think if you want to be a sustainable business, the first thing you need to do is just putting the research into understanding what sustainability is, because I think we throw this word around, and when it comes to building your business, most of the time we just have no idea what it actually implies. So just put down the research, try to understand what actually it is to be a sustainable business. And it's way more complicated than you would think. There's just no shortcuts to get there.
And it's a moving target. Sorry to
Huh?
interrupt you. And it's a moving target.
Exactly. And it just appends, it just like, it just reverses the whole table on what we've been taught on making a business. And I think a good way to show this is, I think in normal business, you're taught like, think about your product and, your price range and who's your client, and then, figure out how to produce it. But if you want to be really sustainable, you need to do it the other way around. You need to like first check, okay, what's the product I want? What is it made of? What is the best sustainable material for this? Where is it extracted? Where is the best way to extract it? How is it the most sustainable way to extract it? Where is it manufactured? Where is the best way to manufacture it, etc., etc. And I think only once you've figured this out, you can think about, okay, what's my price range and what's my product? You just need to do it all the other way around. And there's just no guidebook yet for that, and it just makes it so complicated and daunting, really, because it's just, as Gabrielle has said, it's just like there's no support. So you're out there on your own, and it's really difficult. And I think there's also a big misconception that sustainability is only about how green your product is, but it's just about way more than this. And one thing that is forgotten is that sustainability is offering a better future for the next generations. And this comes by giving back to communities that are involved in making your business what it is. So you need to also figure out, okay, in my chain of process, where is it that I give back to the community? That's also a good question. Obviously, the community that is marginalized. I'm not talking about your investors, if you have any. So, that is also a big question. And I think I wanted to throw around a few buzzwords that are interesting, I think, and one has been addressed already. I think that you can look into waste-led design, circular economy, which is a buzzword thrown around, which is actually really rooted into decolonization and getting, fighting capitalism. And I think it's really interesting to look into that. I'm also thinking about regenerative economy, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And, I think as small businesses, I don't know how to do it because I just don't have the money for that. But it's just so interesting. And I wanted to say that if you're a small business entrepreneur and you want to be sustainable, you are not going to be able to do what you want to do because of resources, and that's okay. Just do as good as you can. Don't be exploitative towards the earth and its people, okay? That's the most important. And if you're looking to do a larger business, remember that if you consider yourself sustainable, you cannot put the profit before the earth and its people. So look for impact investors. There's a higher chance that those will not push you too much for return on investment, although this is not a given. But just remember that you cannot put profit before the earth, and it makes it complicated because we live in a capitalist system. But maybe we're gonna fight it all together. Yeah.
So thank you, Natasha. Mr. Olivier, what about you? What piece of advice can you give to the potential young, sustainable entrepreneurs in this room?
I decided to create my own business when I was 29. I had a good business, good salary, and the day I decided to move, I said that my life will change, less earning, but kind of engagement, and I needed to be ready, and I was ready to say I needed to work 12, 14 hours a day and a lot of weekend. And that's the first point. You have to be ready for that. When I have someone who came to me because we're investing in startup, he came in front of me and I asked him, when you were 10 years ago, did you want to create your own company? If he said yes, I open the discussion. If he say no, I don't open the discussion, because we have a lot of opportunity and we have to choose, and we have some short line to go at. Sometimes it's wrong, okay, but did you have that in your heart to create your own company? That's the first point. If I'm following you, Gabrielle, family and friends are the first you can ask for, and it's very important. You can have your supplier. You can have your suppliers. They can give you money, kind of. Can discuss about what kind of. We can today realize a crowdfunding. You have a project, you have a crowdfunding. It could be the same for Natasha. You have two specific products. You can create a crowdfunding to give you the money to have a scale up, you know, and you have to offer to the crowdfunders something specifically, an added value, not exactly related to the amount they will give you to go up, you know, because you have to know if you will be rich as incredible, you have to be in life science or IT or something else. On the other side, you will be rich with different things, not with the pocket, but with the lifestyle, the life quality. And another point I will say, I never imagined 48 years later to work some days 12 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours. But I like the engagement that we have related to environment. And you have also foundation. We have, in Switzerland, we have the FIT or other foundation in Canton Vaud and Genève. Again, you have some foundation or some public structure, they give you a guarantee for a bank credit. You have to know that, you know. You have to say there is a lot of opportunity. Don't just look at one. That's my first advice. Then, I love some word you said also, Natasha, and I will show you the screen again. Did you see that, the drawdown? Did you know the drawdown project? Every one of you knows the project. You have to go on the web and to see what is drawdown, how to reverse global warming. I show you first that we put in the atmosphere close to 35 gigatons CO2 in the atmosphere. With this project, with drawdown, and look at here, all the potential. There were some engineers, searchers. They decided to go outside the politician, outside the countries, and they said, we have to look and we will analyze what is possible to do today, you know? And they found a lot of opportunity, and we can put out 1,000 gigatons from the atmosphere if every one of you is finding in these 80 projects that we have here, one that represents an opportunity that he can engage. And this is the book. This is the book. You have the same in English, you know, and you have all the projects. They are analyzed. They are calculated how much we have to invest, what kind of impact that we have. And for example, in the picture I showed you before, education is a huge one. Education is something different, but we can do a lot of things. And I've seen projects that we have had in Africa, and with education and confidence to the people to create the small company with microfinance. Another point, Gabriela, you have some microfinance institution also in Switzerland. They can follow you and give you money, also for you, Natasha, you know, and that's very important. So this is my point of view for this question.
Thank you, Mr. Olivier, for these resources. We think that these advices are really important for the generation to come, because actually for us, sustainability is no longer an option. It is mandatory, or we will just die, actually. So we move on to the next question, and this is my favorite one because it's so in the events happening right now, we hear the term greenwashing over and over again. So the question is, where does greenwashing stops and sustainability starts? So we'll start with Miss Gabrielle.
Sure. For me, green actions plus transparency means sustainability. But green communication and with no transparency or no accountability is greenwashing. That would be the definition that popped in my mind as to the difference. I think it's an interesting question, and personally I'm really saddened to see multinationals now. I saw them a lot on LinkedIn post, oh yeah, we're doing this and we have this green project and things like this. And if you start digging, you notice that the effort was made for 0.1% of their global impact, but they allocate what 60 or 70% of their communication budget for it, and there is a huge pressure that is put on the individual and the small business to have impact, but it's completely disproportionate by the impact actually having had by the multinationals. So some days I just wonder if I should not become a full-time activist and and stop with the small business thing, because in terms of actual impact at the end of the day, it might actually be more useful. Yeah, sorry, you caught me on a bit of a depressed day today, huh?
So thank you, Miss Gabrielle. We move on to Natasha.
I think it's a depressed future for us, Gabrielle. So I'm kind of like on the same page as you here. So whatever Gabrielle says, I agree. And on top of that, I wanted, so, you know, to be completely honest, I think that almost everyone is doing some kind of greenwashing, you know, like including me. Like, did I go to Vietnam to make sure that the producer does what it says it does, you know, that I buy, you know, blank t-shirts from? No, I didn't, you know. And as it currently is, you know, small businesses don't have the resources, as you know, as we previously said, to make sure that, you know, we really are, you know, green. And most of us, you know, I'm not going to talk for Gabrielle here, but, you know, like, I cannot assure you that every single product that I'm using is entirely good. I buy from companies or producers that say they are, but, you know, how can we make sure? Like, I cannot go there in person, right? I just don't have the money for that. So, you know, I think there's this that needs to be acknowledged, right? And another thing is that soon we will be able to determine greenwashing way better, because there is these laws coming in the European Union that I talked about before. And, you know, if you don't follow the laws, then, you know, you can consider it to be like greenwashing, right? It's going to be quite straightforward soon. But in a more broader sense of it, where does greenwashing end and sustainability start? It depends why it is sustainability for you, but I think that if you put your research into, you know, understanding it, you will understand that sustainability is about upending exploitative systems and processes, and there's just no way that anything can be sustainable as long as we live in a capitalist, cis, heteropatriarchal world where ex-colonialist countries continue on exploiting the countries that they've colonized in the past. You know, it just doesn't work like this. Like, this system has been based on exploitation, and we can try to tweak it as much as we want. The basis is there, right? There's just, you know, you cannot be sustainable. That's the truth of it. And this is why I really believe in those small sustainable businesses that are trying really hard, like really, really hard to create a new economy, and we just don't give them enough credits for that. And so that's my kind of large answer to this.
So thank you so much, Natasha. Mr. Olivier, do you have something to add to this?
I want to take the words of Natasha and Gabrielle. I will say two things and show you the last pictures. What are our daily actions? We need today 8 billion daily actions. The problem, who is responsible? It is the company who create a product and sell it? Is it the publicity? Is it the one who buy a product? Which one is responsible? And we're all responsible today. And we know that we move. So what I will share to explain my vision, and I put on my LinkedIn, if you want to go on my LinkedIn, I put an article, greenwashing is really good. Why? Because I told you first, 3 years ago, no one would heard in our business and with the investors, small, big, would hear something about sustainable investments, sustainable approach. No, they are all speaking of that. Okay, there is a greenwashing, but it means everyone understood that we have to do something. And the most difficulties that we have, I said you and we have in our company, what is greenwashing? And I share you the screen here. I introduced you before our impact, is it okay? Our impact on the planetary boundaries, you know? We have to move to circular economy, and then we have to implement the 1,000 extraction of gigaton who is possible today. And for us, we try to understand where is the impact on the planetary boundaries, and sometimes we have no choice. We have no choice, we have kind of pollution, and we need to understand that. It's not a tax who will help to change the thing, but this evolution, this big circle, we're looking where are they, what they do, how they do that. But at the end again, I will tell you, I participate, except this year, because I'm not vaccinated, I participated to all the conference of parties since Paris. In Katowice, 3 years ago, everyone agreed, just in the corridor of Katowice, it's +3 degrees in 2030. In the beginning, we were speaking about +1.5 in 2100. Now we are speaking +1.5 in 2050. In Katowice, it was acquired +3 in 2030. We are all here. We will be here in the next 10 years. And so the greenwashing is very hard to understand. And you say that, Gabriel, green communication, transparency is a fact. I take an example. We have 120 billion cash on the pocket of Apple, and they go to the market to keep 1 billion green bonds. Green bonds is great invested because this is an engagement of a company to invest the billions on other company on a project will have positive impact. But why did you go to rent 1 billion in the market? You have 125 more in your pocket. This is kind of greenwashing that we have. They show you something, and in front of that, what happens? And we do that as professionals, and it's very, very difficult. But the good news, greenwashing is growing, greenwashing is here, but everyone, we are moving to change that, and you are the generation to do that. But it's wrong to say you are the generation. We are all the generation, because our day is in the morning when we stand up, and not 10 or 20 years before.
So thank you so much, Mr. Olivier. So I'd like to thank our speakers for their interventions. They were very fruitful, and we are so delighted to have heard from you. So now we'll move on to the Q&A session. So we made it just in time. It's great. And therefore, I'll take some questions from the people in the room. So are there any questions over here? Yes, Olga. Il y a un micro.
Okay, so personally, what are the... Can you all hear me on the Zoom?
So do you hear?
Yes? Okay, nice.
So it's okay? Okay, go on.
Personally, what are the main social, environmental, and economic challenges you are facing?
So did you hear the question? So
You mean beyond the ones we've already discussed?
I'm sorry, Ms. Gabriel, can you repeat?
Yeah, I'm just asking the person who asked the question, does she mean beyond the ones we've already presented in terms of challenges?
So, Olga? Yeah, she'll take the mic back.
I mean others. Like maybe things that made you want to be more sustainable and act for change.
So if I can take the floor, it what we explain. No, you have in front of you 3 different companies with each one kind of difficulties, but all are moving in a way in their business to change something. Fortunately, they and I like when Gabriel says, okay, condom is not something with eco-circularity. and that's a kind of reality, and it is one, you know, and we are all moving to that. One point you say in your question, you are speaking at the main point related to economic. We don't make philanthropy when you create your own company, and if you rent a credit in a bank, you have to make a minimum small profit to secure the rates and to reimburse your credit. But what I've heard today from Natasha and Gabriel, and I'm seeing their website, they have one way to think, and they work in this direction. That's what I've understood, or if you can detail your question.
So, does this answer your question, Olga? So, yeah, okay. Do we have other questions?
Please do.
In the chat, maybe? Is the mic... it's okay?
Is it? Oh yeah, sorry. I'm just also asking questions for the others. So you all said that it's a real challenge to be sustainable, and you had some difficulties, of course. If you knew everything, would you do it again? I know it's kind of a cheesy question, but for example, for young people, like, it's really difficult, and if you had to do everything the same way, would you do it the same way again?
So I think, yeah, I think you need 3 replies for this, because, you know, we all have different experiences. The money part is a problem. It really is. And I think if I had to do it again, I would, particularly now, because I have a feeling that the world is changing so much now with Gen Z millennials that are really trying to, you know, uproot the system as it is. That it's just so thrilling to be part of this. You know, if you can sustain yourself financially, if you find a way to do it, it's just thrilling to be part of this, because I think most of us are trying really hard to rewrite the rules of the game. And even if you're not a billionaire and you have a feeling that what you do is useless, you actually do a lot, because, you know, we're just part of a movement that's trying really hard to change things, and it's just thrilling to be part of it, in my opinion. But, you know, if you have money to do it.
Okay, thank you. Do you have another question? Yes, Hamza?
Yes. First, thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting, and I'm glad that I had to discover your companies. So I would like to ask you about new technologies, because we are seeing now a rise in this field. For example, with the cryptocurrencies and NFTs, that are technologies that have core problems, which this problem is the fact that they don't take in consideration their electrical consumption and the ecological issues that it can create. So in your opinion, does technology is compatible with the ecological issues that we are facing? And do you think that companies can solve these problems in the short or in the long term? Thank you.
Thank you,
And please, I just want to, this question is for Natasha and Gabriela, because they talked about capitalism, and I think that capitalism is linked, and like it's a merge of technology and capitalism. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamza. So, Natasha and Gabriel, this question was directed to you. Therefore, do you want to answer it? Of course, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I did not go on board the cryptocurrency train. I mean, although I have a whole bunch of people in my life that seem interested, I didn't have the bandwidth to go into it. I did dig a little bit into the NFT side of thing. So to answer your question with regards to the energy consumption, my very limited understanding is that since the NFTs are mostly based on Ethereum and others, but I think Ethereum is the biggest one, aren't they going to come up with the layer 2 solution, or like an upgrade of it next year, moving from proof of work to proof of stake, that should reduce the energy consumption by, I don't know how many orders of magnitudes, but a lot, so it becomes less of a problem. So I think that's happening. But on another point, I think the NFT side of thing is is interesting, and it's such an innovative way to compensate content creators, but also maybe products creators at larger scale. So we recently run an experiment with my side project of the International Days to publish NFT cards, and we're hoping to use the sale of that to fund actually the development of the business. So I have not seen yet many companies do that, but it could be a way to somehow like crowdfund for different projects and give the community access to various things. Something we are considering, for example, is for the International Day. So each day has its page, and the owner of the NFT could, for example, have like a banner on that page that directs people to a charity of their choice or an option of their choice, because those International Days are usually highlighting critical kind of world challenges. So that could be a thing, but it's such a new space, and innovation is like so much is happening every day that I can't really tell you how it's going to evolve, but we're definitely there and trying to play around and see what can be done with that.
Thank you, Ms. Gabrielle.
Can I build on that quickly?
Yeah, of course. Go on.
So, I want to bring in the anti-capitalism angle into this. So, if you talk about sustainability, like if you want to talk about, the problem with energy, I think, we're just starting out in the renewable energy business, right? We're just now pouring the money in that should have been poured 20 years ago. So, we're going to see so many new advances being made, and energy can, it's kind of an easy problem in itself, right? It's just about where the energy comes from, right? So that's okay. But if you want to look at the broader sustainability aspect of it, I think it's thrilling because, you can finally try to, build something new under the nose of capitalism that, as Gabrielle has said, is more fair. At least NFTs are. They are more fair to creators, and I think it's thrilling. It really is.
So thank you, Natasha.
Can I add something?
Yeah, of course. I was about to ask you to add something to this. I guess your expertise
behind
is
the
helpful.
crypto. I spoke about just shortly about Bitcoin. It's kind of crypto money, but the NFT and others. Behind that is the blockchain, and behind that is something relevant or will have a huge impact on the environment is digitalization, artificial intelligence. There are two main points. We don't have time to share about it today, but the humain who refuse to accept digitalization, who refuse to accept the capacity of AI to help us and not to replace us, to help us to move, it will be difficult. So behind your question, I'm seeing that, and NFT is kind of evolution, and that's good. As evolution is less power to develop it, and we have some crypto money. They don't use a lot of power that Bitcoin or other is using, and that we have to know. It's another way for not I will say crypto washing or others. But also the same as it was Gabriel said before. Again, transparency and green communication is very important to understand what we have that. But we are on the way with that.
So thank you so much, Mr. Olivier. Do we have?
Can I just add a little?
Yeah, of course, of course.
From what I understood from the blockchain and really this ledger opportunity, it has a huge transparency potential for all the green companies, because everything is going to be traceable. So as soon as, I don't know, Coca-Cola moves their operations on the blockchain, well, there won't be any amount of greenwashing that's going to stand in front of all the facts that we're going to be able to trace, like the number of bottles produced and the amount of bottles that were not insulated or not treated properly. And maybe that plus a combination of IoT where you'll have a traceability of each of those material goods, then it's going to be revolutionary. I just hope it won't be too late.
Thank you, Ms. Gabrielle. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, of course.
Yes, can you hear me? I will say you can. So I was wondering, because Natasha, for instance, you mentioned that there were many little companies who were struggling. And I was wondering if there was something like an annual conference meeting or something where you can actually meet, because it sounds like if there's a lot of people struggling on their side, maybe it's a good idea to actually meet and discuss these issues and see if you can find solutions together. So I was wondering if this exists.
Yeah, it's called social media. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Only half. I think. Yeah. So that's a good point. I think you have a good point. But you just keep on coming back to the same problem all over again. Is resources. Who'll pay for this? We can't. Who will pay for the trips? Who will pay for the hotel? Like these seem like small things, but for small businesses, these are big things, and we just don't have the resources. That's it. And who's going to sponsor it if no money's going to come out of it? No one. So it's a good idea, but yeah, money. We just keep on coming back to the same issue. So yeah, but social media is a great place.
So thank you, Natasha, for your answer. Are there any other questions? Yeah? Just a sec.
So first, thank you all for your valuable participation. It was really interesting. But I have a very specific question to ask Gabrielle. So my question is, you explained why you chose the condom market specifically, but didn't you see it as risky at first? Because usually people just go to the supermarket or the drugstore and buy condoms, and maybe they just don't think about the composition or other. So while starting your business, what would you say to someone who wants to start a business but finds it risky and doesn't really have the courage to go on and start it? Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
It's a good question. To be fair, I did not realize the full breadth of obstacles I would face when I started, and I think that's a good thing because I might have been discouraged, but who knows. So sometimes it's good not to know, but to answer your question more specifically, so the risk is one aspect, but if you have a business case and a potential for the product, even though there are risks, but it means they're also going to be, those are going to create barriers to entry for other competitors. So maybe you have some ideas that are relatively easy to execute or with smaller obstacles, then you're going to have a lot more people trying to solve that problem that way because it's somehow easy. The higher the risk or the higher the obstacles, then the higher the barrier, so the less competition you're going to have. For example, for the condoms, it's if you want to have your own formulation and you go to first, it's hard to find a factory. But secondly, it's also, you need to produce a lot. You can't just show up and say, oh yeah, please just send me 1,000 pieces and I'll try to sell them. They just won't consider you. So this means that only kind of like serious and really motivated people can enter the market or enter the problematic. So then if you manage to pull it off, you'll have less competition. But with regards to the motivation and feeling discouraged, that's more due to like an internal way you have of perceiving things as opposed to the external circumstances. Because the external circumstances are what they are. More often than not, you can't really change them, but you can change your attitude or the way you look at things. And I found that entrepreneurship is a wonderful accelerator to make you kind of examine your beliefs and the limits that you might have in mind and kind of prompt your creativity to make sure you actually do achieve your goal, even though you might have obstacles. So it's not easy, but it's absolutely worth it.
So thank you, Ms. Gabrielle. Do we have any other comments from the speakers about this question?
Just one comment.
Okay.
interesting is in the finance, we are speaking about venture capital, you know, and I worked for few years to say not venture capital, but opportunity capital. If you go to someone and you will tell him, did you want to invest in my company and do you accept to take the risk? It's not the same as to say, I have an opportunity for you. Are you ready to invest in my company? Because we know all the time when we are investing in something that could be in stock exchange or crypto or something else, it's kind of risk, but behind that, it's a huge opportunity. We have in Switzerland close to 600,000 small companies, small and mid company, you know, and it represents also a lot of people like you, like the who one are hearing you today, that represent opportunity. And one thing you have when you create your own company, it's an incredible work. It's a crazy time, and if you are living with someone, sometimes it can destroy your family, you know. But you have one freedom that you can find at no one other place than in your own company.
Thank you so much for your answer, Mr. Olivier. So, do we have any other questions? Yes, we do, I guess.
So I think this one would be more to Olivier, but of course to everyone. And again, thank you so much to all the speakers. But so do you have a dedicated budget for sustainable, for your example, investments? And I mean, do you have like someone specifically working on it, or how do you manage to like find those sustainable investments and the line you want to follow, and to make sure that it's really sustainable, and how can you like be sure that you can trust those startups and everything?
Thank you. Yeah, I told you, if you want to see, we have the cooperative, one creation cooperative. It's not a fund investment, no more speculation, totally social and responsible engagement, you know. And so the budget for a company is the mainstream to propose product. On one side, we advise pension fund, but I'm speaking the side where I'm involved for 10 years now. We propose product, and the cooperative is investing in startup. Yeah, I don't show you the picture. We try to understand where on the planetary boundaries a company is moving to have a positive impact. 100% is not that, but we have to move to there. I explain you about the drawdown. What is the drawdown project? Drawdown is the day when we don't stop to increase, to add more CO2 in the atmosphere. It's the day where we decline with the CO2 in the atmosphere. So, and for example, in the cooperative, we put, if we can give 4% return on our associate, we can give to 1% a year, 1% of the capital to project with non-profit approach to follow them or to support them. We support projects from the UNCTAD, for example, and we have now a company in South America and another one in Africa that they are moving to sustainability, and it was a month dedicated to them, and we expect nothing in return, just that this company will evaluate to that, you know. And also we decided in our product to put 10% of our earning, if we have a good profit, to put 10% to develop project to a foundation, and this is the One Nature Foundation we are working with now, and we have now a lot of project there. So yes, as a company, we are really moved and engaged, and it's one way related to greenwashing, you know. A company say that, but deeper in the analysis, how this company is acting and how are thinking the people. I made an assessment years ago, and I guarantee to my colleagues not to know what they said to the person who will ask them about the thing about the company. But the guy who has made that came to me and said, for one, I need to tell you, he said, sustainability, I don't tell you the word, but is a that, and he will never heard about that. He has no interest in that. And this guy, we couldn't go away with him because he wasn't with us all in the company. And I told him I need to change. I helped him to find a new job, and he find a great job. But we have all to be compliant with that. We have no choice.
Thank you, Mr. Olivier. I guess we'll be taking one more question because we only have 2 minutes left. So is there any other question? Last one? No?
I'm sorry, but we have to stop.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, Miriam.
So
We have to conclude.
okay, so I guess that's the end. We made it in time, actually. So we're really happy to have had this debate with you. We'd like to thank the speakers for their expertise and all the insights they brought to us. And that's it. Thank you, guys, and see you next time.